So this is something I do before every Monster Hunter game. I never want to feel like I've wasted any or valuable materials, so I always plan out what weapons I'm going to make. Most of the time I stick to it pretty well, but it's not like it's a strict ledger for me. I find until you get to the end game, you can drive yourself into a pretty deep hole if you make whatever weapons you have available, only to realize it costs insanely rare materials later, and unfortunately doesn't even end up being good. Since I'm doing this for myself, I figured I would share it with you all. Maybe you can find it useful too. Here's the catch. I do this veteran style. No math, no testing, just pure intuition knowing my own playstyle as a guide. If you want to know what the best weapons are, you'll have to find some other YouTuber because I won't sit here and calculate it out. I use a multi-approach system to determine what weapons I'm going to initially go for, as in the end I typically end up making everything anyway. First and foremost, look at attack and elemental values, followed by sharpness. I then take bonuses such as defense or affinity buffs into consideration, and finally ease of making the weapon, something no calculator can actually tell you. I never worry about weapon slots because I feel a good armor set should be able to be universally used with any weapon non-limiting. For status weapons it's even simpler, which has the highest status and sharpness. And for all you fashion hunters, move along and never pick a weapon based on looks. Function over fashion. Here's the disclaimer. Monster Hunter Generations isn't out yet, so I'm using Tyrannical database to do my shopping. That means that there may be some translation issues, as well as a lack of weapon tree information. I'm going to do my best to not include any DLC weapons or endgame ultimate weapons, created by tickets in every upgrade. I'm also going to exclude any rust weapons here. If you find a rust weapon, just make it. They're all amazing, but more importantly, they're based on luck of finding one, so it's really not right to put it on the list. My list contains 1 to 2 top picks for each element for each weapon type. I like to give myself a little flexibility in case I'm not having any luck with monster drops. I've also got a few honorable mentions of weapons that maybe didn't make the cut here, but are definitely worthy of crafting your first round through. So let's get into it. This is a tough choice because honestly I think a lot of them are pretty well balanced in my opinion for Lance. However, I would go with Dino Lance Granado as my first choice, and probably Agnactor Fire Lance or Spear of Prominence as either my second choices, depending on what your armor set better suits. High Acrus Lance and Despot's Cacophony are really close in my mind here. Either one you can make work with the right set, but if you're not happy with either of those, Great Demon Lance is going to be good as an endgame weapon, and Thunder Lance obviously has a lot of thunder. Realistically, all these are in pretty rough shape for an Ice Lance. Go with Wrathguard or just wait out for the rust weapon. Assault Nebelwerfer, okay, is probably going to be my first choice simply because it's easy to make. However, in the endgame, you're definitely going to want to aim for Stream Spear or Rexpel Gouger. While it doesn't have very high damage, it is very comparable. Fiber Shield is my top choice here. It has really good dragon, pretty decent affinity, and definitely some really good sharpness. Much like the name of this lance, you're going to be using all of your Brock materials. I'm really excited that the Ranguro Toro weapon Running Sweep takes my vote here. However, don't forget about Dark Spear. It does have superior sharpness, so you can definitely use that to your advantage in making a custom armor set. We've got an absolute winner here with Garuga Incessants. Honestly, I wouldn't bother making anything else. Although the Requiem Spear does have higher sleep, it isn't by much, and the Karashi Fragrance has significantly better sharpness as well as that third slot. I decided to go with Ogre Lance here as my top pick, simply because it has really good sharpness compared to everything else, that nice chunk of white, as well as a high medium damage, and is actually not that difficult to make. Barbarian Fang does have one of the highest raw damages in the game for a lance. It's also capable of getting a nice chunk of white sharpness, and isn't too difficult to make either, so that would be a pretty good choice with the right set. However, if you're kind of new to lance, I would recommend the Elder Babel Spear, as it does come with a nice defense boost, as well as some impeccable sharpness. The alternative to that is the Wyvern Rider Lance, which in my personal opinion, here you go, looks a little cooler. It does come with a little bit better attack and half the defense that Elder Babel Spear does come with, but it also comes with about the same sharpness too, so that's a pretty good option.